So we're now live and we're beginning our new TESOL webinar. Greetings from LCC International University. It's a pleasure to connect to all the wonderful teachers from all over the world. I see that you have started the conversation already. Hello and welcome everyone. I see that we have teachers joining from Tashkent, from Palestine, from Lithuania, from Kaliningrad, from Cherkasy, Ukraine, from Vilnius, from Moldova. And everyone is welcome, and we're super happy to have all of you with us virtually, joining from all the different places that you are at and learning together. So let me just very briefly introduce who we are to the newcomers. If this is your first time, hello, welcome. We are LCC International University, and we are presenting this TESOL webinar series. So hello everyone. Once you are joining, feel free to comment in the comment section on YouTube. Tell us where you're from, and we are very happy to have you with us. So my name is Lydia. I work at the admissions office of LCC International University. Today, I am happy to present you Dr. Robin Gingerich. She's our English department chair, and she'll be presenting on the topic of differentiation. And I hope we'll have a very fruitful and useful time together. Before we dive into the specifics of ELT theory and practice, I would just like to share a couple of words about our university, our mission, and what we're doing today and throughout our work with teachers. So let me share my screen really quickly, and I am very happy to have this opportunity to talk to you all today. So once again, if you are new to our TESOL webinar series, welcome. We are LCC International University, and we are the only North American style university in the heart of Europe. We are located in Lithuania and the beautiful city of Klaipėda. So if you look at this map of Europe, we are over here on top. Right by the Baltic Sea, and we're happy to be here and call it our home. LCC is an international university, not only in the name, but in the nature. We have students coming from more than 50 different countries. Our professors come from North America, from US, Canada, and many other wonderful countries. We teach only in English, and we teach in the style and the educational model that is called liberal arts. We are fully accredited, and what makes us very unique, especially in this part of the world, is that we are Christian values involved university. And what is more, we are a relational university. We value every and each of our student, staff and faculty member, and our colleagues throughout the whole world. And we want to connect in a personal way and to share what we have. And this webinar series is one of the ways for us to share our professors' expertise in the field and help you in your teaching journey. We also offer a master's program in TESOL, and it is an excellent program for those who are interested in deepening their knowledge and skills in English language teaching. And what we offer in this program is lots of different benefits, which include professors that are truly experts in their fields and care about their students. Students who take this master's program, MA TESOL, have an opportunity to practice their teaching skills in Lithuania if they choose to at our dynamic Summer Language Institute. And it's a blending learning course that can be completed within 2 years. And it's an opportunity for you to consider ethical aspects of teaching and learning. So if you are an English teacher and you're considering of improving your teaching skills, and that's what you're doing today with us, you may consider our MA TESOL program. We are also offering teachers an opportunity to try the program without committing to it full-time through online courses that participants can take at their take one at a time. So you can register for a 7 weeks online course, earn 6 e-city credits, and see if this type of learning, online learning with educational professionals from around the world works for you. And then if you like it, if you want to pursue the whole TESOL course, then we would be able to count those credits that you've earned in this one course towards your whole diploma. What is more, we offer short-term professional development courses, and there's one coming up next year in February and March. It will be for 6 weeks, and it will have 12 contact hours. It will also be online, but all of the sessions will be live, and it will be an opportunity for you as a teacher to connect to teachers from many different countries, to share ideas, to network, and to discuss challenges and interesting situations that you might be having in your classrooms. And what we're doing right now is kind of a model of the different professional development opportunities that we offer. It's a series of free webinars. We've already done 2 this semester. Today there is one, and we'll be having one more on December 10th. And today I present you Dr. Robin Gingerich. She is the department head of our English language programs, and she will be sharing with you about unique students and unique lessons. So that's it on my side. I give the floor to Robin.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be with you on this Friday afternoon. Friday might be the favorite day for teachers because it's the end of the week, but we also get a chance just to be together. And so welcome to our seminar. As every webinar has technology going with it, and so the technology angels should be with us today. And so Lydia will be helping out, and she'll be sharing my screen. So if you want to go ahead and start with that first screen, Lydia, that'd be great. And we'll just check and see if this all works.
Me just a second.
Okay, thanks for your patience, everyone. We all have learned a lot about teaching online. So.
I think we should be good.
Okay. All right, so we should have a full screen now. You should be able to hear my voice and see the screen full. So you can go to the next slide. Today's topic is differentiation. You'll notice that this is part of our webinar series for our professional development for English language teachers. And I'm going to present the idea of differentiation. Hopefully, whoever you are, wherever you are, whoever you teach, whenever you teach them, you'll be able to take the theories and ideas that I give you today and present and be able to take them into your own context and see how they might work. Differentiation is a topic that I think is important for teachers to know about and to try to implement into some classes. So let's dive into it, and I'll explain a little bit of what differentiation is. You'll notice from this first title slide the word different. So keep that in mind as we go ahead and go through the seminar. So next slide, Lydia, thank you. Thank you. I'm taking a lot of information from my colleagues in the international TESOL community, teaching English to speakers of other languages. The TESOL community has really developed 6 very good principles for English language teaching around the world in multiple contexts. Today, we're really looking at principle 3, designing high quality language lessons. And we're looking at principle 4, adapting lesson delivery as needed. So principle 3 says high quality language lessons. Most of you are the perfect examples of this. You've got your high quality lessons. You're ready to go when you walk in the classroom with your students. You've planned ahead for your classes. But now let's look at principle 4, adapting lesson delivery as needed. I think we do this all the time. Sometimes we allow an activity to go a little bit longer than we planned, so we adapt our lesson. Sometimes in the middle of the lesson, we add an activity or we add an exercise for our students that they're not understanding, so we're adapting. And sometimes we have maybe planned too much for our lesson, and so we save something for later. All of that is adapting the lesson. It still comes out to be a very good lesson, but we as teachers are brilliant and we know how to think on our feet. And so principle for adapting lesson variety is both thinking on our feet and planning ahead. So next slide, please. I'd like to ask you to participate in the seminar. So get your fingers ready on your keyboards or on your phones to participate a little bit. So there are 3 answers that you might choose from when I ask these questions. I'm going to just test and see, what do you believe about English language teaching? And your answer could be, yes, I believe that. And so then you type in the word yes. Your answer might be, nope, nope, I do not believe that. And so then you type in the answer no in the chat box. Your answer might be, I'm not sure. And so then you can just type in HMM, I'm not sure about this answer. And then Lydia will be able to read the answers in the chat box and see what some of the answers are. So let's give them the first statement, Lydia. Let's just give them one statement and we'll see where our participants are as we're talking here. So here's the statement. Teachers are committed to helping all learners learn. So if you would like to participate, type in the chat box, yes, or no, or And Lydia will tell us what's coming up in the chat box.
So if you agree with the statement, please write yes, no, or So I see that there are some yeses coming.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's mostly a yes, right?
Okay. Mostly yeses. All right. Next question. Next statement. That was a too easy one to start off with. Okay. Let's give them the next statement, Lydia. Teachers create clear learning goals for learners. Teachers create clear learning goals for learners.
Okay, so if you agree with this, you can write yes, no, or So I also see some yeses, some Okay, so this one is more controversial, right?
Okay. Yeah. Writing goals is difficult. I believe writing goals is difficult. We try to create clear learning goals for learners. So that's a tricky one, but yeah, definitely that's our goal. Let's give them the next statement, Lydia. All learners have the same cognitive capacity. Cognition is of the brain. So all learners have the same brain capacity. What do you think about this one?
Let me repeat that. So
Okay.
all learners have the same cognitive capacity. So do you agree? Yes, no, or you have some doubts about it? Oh, no, definitely no.
Okay.
We go to the next one.
Okay, we got lots of no's there, right? Okay, yes, let's start the next one. All learners in one group should be working at the same level. All learners in one group, in one lesson, should be working at the same level. What do you think?
So I see people are not sure. Some wrote, some yes, no. So this one is kind of divisive.
Okay, so we have different answers for this one, right? Yeah, the question, every time you have a group of pupils, a group of students in a classroom, do you believe they all should be at the exact same level or not? And of course, this might be a little controversial for teachers. We have two more sentences, so let's go to the next one. Learners can be given responsibility for their own learning. This is about learner autonomy. Learners can be given responsibility for their own learning. What do you believe about this statement?
Okay, so this one, learners can be given responsibility for their own learning. Can you tell us what you think? Is it yes, no, or not sure? So I see some no's.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely yes. Oh, mostly yeses. It motivates the learners. Okay, so now it's mostly yes.
Okay. Okay, one more. And this is to help you participate and just to get your ideas thinking about differentiation. What the last statement, Lydia? Let's give them the last statement. Okay. Fairness means treating all learners the same. Fairness means treating all learners the same. So same instructional methods, same lessons for all learners in that group. What does fairness mean?
Okay, so fairness, treating all learners the same way. Yeah. Is it yes, no, or you're not sure?
Yeah. We give you the just in case you're not quite sure what to answer. Not straight yes or not straight no.
Okay. So there's a yes and there's a no.
Okay. Yeah, I would.
Any other option? No. No for some people. Yeah, so it's mostly no.
Okay. Fairness maybe does not mean treating all learners the same. So that's interesting. You're already on your way to differentiation. So you already know about this. So let the next slide has a definition of differentiation. So let's start with the definition of differentiation. And I'm taking my materials from Carol Tomlinson, who's an expert in differentiation in elementary and secondary schools in the United States, but I think this is also helpful for us teaching internationally. Differentiation is when teachers proactively plan, so planning ahead, proactively plan varied approaches, varied exercises, varied methods to what students need to learn, how they will learn it, and or how they will show what they have learned. And teachers present these varied approaches in order to increase the likelihood, increase the possibility that each student will learn as much as he or she can as efficiently as possible. So let's go on. And this idea of differentiation really stems from the idea that every child, every adult, every teenager is created a bit differently and brings their own gifts and their own knowledge and their own skills to the classroom. And that pupils are not exactly the same. They are different. So you see the hands on the slide, they're all different colors. Pupils and students come in different sizes and different shapes and different voices, and they're different personalities. So basically differentiation starts with the understanding that pupils and students are quite different. And now differentiation is a task a teacher might do, a proactive plan to deal with, to manage, to help every student use their gifts to reach the goals that you have for the class, knowing that each student comes with their own different ideas. So the next slide is another slide you can simply type in yes or no. Okay, so And if you want to use you can use as well for this one. But tell Lydia and I, is differentiation a new idea for you? Is this idea of differentiation new to you? Or have you heard this in your teacher training? Have you already heard a seminar about differentiation? Have you experienced this in your professional development, in your own readings? Or is this word, this idea, quite new for you? So you can type in yes, meaning it's new for me, or no, I've already heard differentiation before.
So I see some no's, not new.
Okay.
Some people are saying yes, no. So not exactly new for many people.
Good, good. So we're not, maybe for those of you who've heard it before, I'm hoping that this will just reiterate and reinforce and encourage you to consider differentiation. So if you've already heard it before, maybe today is a chance for you to rethink the way you're operating this week in your classes or next week, and consider using differentiation. If you've already heard of if differentiation is new for you, hopefully we explain it in a way that makes sense. So the next slide, will just a little nod to my mentor here in the differentiation, Carol Tomlinson. She is a professor of educational leadership at the University of Virginia and is ranked quite highly as an author and researcher on differentiation. This is her specialty. And so I have some links if you'd like those at the end of the presentation, that you can follow the links to what she's offered. And I find her ideas very helpful and very useful. So these are not all my ideas, obviously. This is my reference. So the next slide gives us an understanding of what a teacher might need to believe about teaching to understand differentiation. So the first point is this. The first point is we assume that education will change a person, and hopefully for the better. So we assume that education and being in a class in schools will change someone. And we hope, because we have hope as teachers, we hope that changes for the better. The second point of differentiation is that differentiation assumes that everybody learns differently, and that's normal. Okay, so students and pupils and adults all have different ways of learning. Our brains are not all exactly the same, and that's okay. That is normal. The third point is that teachers, if they believe that everyone learns a little bit differently, we aim to help everyone. We aim to help all of our pupils and students broaden their horizons and grow from wherever they are in their abilities. And the fourth point is that we as teachers need to be careful when identifying different students. We don't want to stereotype or discriminate against students who are struggling or students who are quite bright and quite gifted. We want to have honor and respect for all of our students, whatever their abilities and whatever their skills and gifts are. The next slide shows that a theory you may already know, which is Gardner's multiple intelligences theory. This is an old theory. You know this theory from before, so this is nothing new. Multiple intelligences theory tells us that everyone has some different types of intelligence, and some of us have more of one type and less of another type. So my dance teacher, I take dance lessons. I won't dance for you now because that might be a little bit crazy, but my dance teacher has body kinesthetic intelligence way more than I do. She can move in ways that is just very, very fascinating and very, very good. My mother has musical intelligence. My mother can hear a tune and she can repeat it back perfectly. I can't do that either. Some of my friends are logically smart and they're very, very good at math. In fact, my brother is logically smart. He can do multiplication and division in his head, and he's very good at it. Now, multiple intelligences says that we all have a little bit of all of these intelligences, but some might be stronger than others. And so we realize that that our students bring these multiple intelligences into the classroom, and we can recognize that they bring their different gifts into the classroom. Good. Now, the next slide is an interesting one, I think, and let me talk through this. The difference between equality and equity. Equality means everyone gets the same thing. So look in the slide on the left side, you'll see three boys. The boy in the blue shirt, and the boy in the red shirt, and the boy in the purple shirt. Now, the boy in the blue shirt is quite tall. The boy in the red shirt is medium height, and the little boy with the purple shirt is quite short and quite small. But if we treat them all the same, we give them all the same box, what happens when they want to watch the baseball game? Well, the tall boy can see the game quite well on his box. And the red shirt boy can also see the game because he is now able to see the game. And we give the same box to the boy in the purple shirt. But you know what? He can't see the game. He can't look over the fence. But we've given them all the same size box. Okay, that's equality. Let's look at equity. So in this slide, you'll notice we didn't give any box to the blue shirted boy. And we gave one box to the red shirted boy. And we gave two boxes to the purple shirted boy, the little tiny boy. And look, everyone has reached the goal. Everyone can see the game. But we gave them different things. That's equity. And that's treating students according to what they need, not treating everyone the same. So I think this is maybe a visual that you've seen before, but I wanted to present it because it really gives sort of a definition of the belief that sometimes different pupils and different students need different things in the classroom. Not always, but sometimes. So that's equality, treating everyone the same. Equity, helping everyone reach the goals, no matter how, in this case, how tall or short they are. So let's show the next slide. Let's move on from there. This is, again, sort of repeating the same idea. In differentiation, we continue to think of the group. We continue to think of the group of students in our classes because we have 15, 18, 25, 50, 100 students. But we also recognize individuals, that individuals are unique and that everyone can learn. But maybe they learn at different rates. Some will learn faster and some will learn slower, and that children will learn differently. They'll use their different gifts in education. Let's show the next slide, Lydia. And I will, yeah. So students will reach learning goals at different times. So I'm going to show you a demonstration here. So I think we're going to have to stop sharing the screen so you can see what's happening in my office here. In my office here as a demonstration, I have some plants. Okay, so I love growing plants and being outside and growing in the garden. And I want to show you my plants. And I want to ask you if you would actually treat these plants the same. So first of all, I have a medium-sized plant. It's a lovely little plant here. And I don't put this plant in the window, but I do set it near the light so it can see, but it is in this small, average size little bowl here. I have another plant that is a cactus plant. And this cactus plant loves dry soil. It likes not to be very wet. It likes to be very dry, and it loves the sun. So we put it right in the sunshine. And I have this other plant that's almost too big to pick up. But this plant has long, long arms and legs. And I like to give it lots of water. And it just grows and grows and grows and grows with its long, 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 long arms and legs. It's called a variegated philodendron plant. It's one of my favorites. And then I have a succulent plant. So I have this little tiny succulent plant. This one loves water. It loves a lot of water. So if I'm going to water all of my plants, would I give the same amount of water to the succulent plant as I would to the cactus? Probably not. they're in my group, they're in my office, but I water them a bit differently. I give them a different amount of water. So that's the idea, again, of differentiation, is that sometimes I treat them all the same in that they get light from my window, and I want to provide them with good light and good energy, but the water that I give them is a little bit different in the amounts, and I want all of them to grow. I want my baby succulent to grow, I want my cactus to grow, and so I offer them different amounts of water, but they all grow very well, and they like the sunshine and the water. So let's go back to our screen, and I'll sit down again.
Oh, that's quite a collection you have over there.
Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint where it says learning goals, maybe. Ah, super, awesome. The technology angels are with us this afternoon, so that's good. Again, this idea that teachers could plan ahead to appropriately give more challenging tasks to students who reach the learning goals early. So like we said at the beginning, setting goals for our classes is very important and very hard, but it's important. So we have our learning goals, and some students will reach those goals very quickly. Then what do we do? Can we give them more challenging tasks when they've reached those goals early? Some of our students will take longer to reach those learning goals. How can we scaffold tasks for students who need more time to reach the learning goals? What is scaffolding? Well, scaffolding is just giving extra. It means giving extra support. So let's show the next slide, Lydia, and we'll notice I want to applaud you. Okay, so I'm going to applaud all the teachers. You are already scaffolding. You are already helping your students to learn. And scaffolding means breaking something down into pieces to make a large goal easier to reach, to explain with a variety of examples, to use visuals and manipulatives, things you can move around, maybe using music in your lesson for those who like to learn through music. Maybe for the social learners, they learn well because you organize pair work and they work with a partner, or you organize group work and they work with 4 or 5 people. And sometimes you decide to reteach a lesson or a topic or an activity because you realize they need a little more help. So I'm going to give them a little more help. I'm going to scaffold by teaching this again or teaching in a slightly different way. So you're already doing some scaffolding. Another idea of scaffolding is simply allowing student choice. And this we go back to student autonomy and getting our students to take responsibility for the learning. Allowing student choice in a way is already scaffolding, and we can push the advanced learners to choose something a little bit more challenging, and we can encourage our struggling students to take on a task that is not so challenging, but helping everyone to grow. So I think that most of you are, I think all of you are already scaffolding simply because you're paying attention to your pupils, you're paying attention to your students, and you're already helping them to move along the way. Let me give you a little more specifics on differentiation. So the next slide shows 3 ways to differentiate. So I'm going to go just through a couple of these steps. The first way you might think of differentiating for your different plants or for your different pupils is to, excuse me, to think about the content of your lesson and how that content is delivered. So how can you provide different ways to deliver the content of your lesson? So if you click through about maybe 3 clicks, Lydia, I'll give you some ideas. So yeah, perfect. That's fantastic. If my content is global sustainability goals, okay, big content, lots of content. Well, can I provide that content in different mediums? Can I provide a video for my students? Can I myself explain it really well? Can I provide a reading for my students? So I'm providing the same content in a little bit different ways. Let's go back to language teaching. What if the content are prepositions of time. Prepositions of time, right? On Monday, in November, in 2013, right? So prepositions of time. Can I find a video on preposition of time? Can I explain it really well? Can I provide a reading that they can underline prepositions of time? This is how you differentiate content. And it just means teaching in different ways, in a very simplistic way. So click on the next idea here. And another idea is that, well, okay, let me back up to the first one. Some students, you don't need to provide the same content the same way to every student. Maybe some students will just get it from your explanation. You explain, they get it, they can move on. Other students might need the video. They might need an extra video to watch at home to catch up a little bit. Other students might need the extra reading, the extra practice. So you don't need to deliver the same content in the same medium to all students. You might differentiate and explain it to everyone, but give a few students the video link and a few students the reading link. You might also think about the variety of activities to engage your students in terms of process. So if you click through, I think it's 4, I think give us 4 clicks, Lydia. In this way, when you provide varieties of activities, you're helping the strong students to get better, and you're also supporting the struggling students, and you're giving those students in the middle a good lesson as well. So these activities provide support for all students, allowing students time to think, time to share their answers with a partner before they share is a good way to help those struggling students to think, practice their answer, and then share with the class. A strong student really doesn't need think, pair, share. They can answer very quickly and very easily, but a struggling student may need think, pair, share as a support. Journaling or literature circles are ways that we break up the content into different pieces. And every once in a while, you'll realize, my strongest students really don't need a jigsaw group, and I'll describe jigsaw groups later. They can do this on their own, but the medium students and my struggling students would really benefit from reading this text together. So I'll get to jigsaw groups if you stay with me in a second, and I'll get to those. And the last one is number 3. Sometimes you can think creatively to allow students to produce different products to show you what they know. So give us 2 more clicks, Lydia. We can allow students to choose different products from a list. So some students will do really well with a multiple choice test. So and some students will say, no, I want to create a poster to show you what I know. Other students will say, I can give a speech on what I know about this topic. And other students will say, I would rather write about my topic. And so you're allowing them to choose different products to produce to show you what they would like. You can always control the products, right? You can say it's either an essay or it's a speech. You can say it's either a test or it's a presentation. So you can choose, you can limit the topics that they choose from, but you can allow them a bit of choice as well. And if they're quite advanced, they can also propose their own products that they make. Okay, let me show you again another example. Can I share my screen, Lydia? Let's try this. You should be seeing a Jamboard at this point. Jamboard is a Google app that I can use here. Can someone tell me if you see my Jamboard?
I think we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So we have 3 students here. We have Greta, Mantas, and Sophia. And we have just another idea of differentiation, more theoretical. We have the months at the top. We have September, October, November, December, and they all have the same goal. I have the same goal for all of my students. They're all in the same class. I have a goal. Greta is our first student here at the top. She receives the same instruction that everybody else does, but she gets the goal. She reaches that goal in October. Okay, I know Greta's already reached the goal. How can I continue to challenge Greta in November and December without, how can I continue to challenge her because she's already reached the goal and I don't want to just reteach everything for her all the time. Let's take a look at Montes. Okay, Montes received the same instruction in September as everybody else. And Montes needed a little bit of more help, a little bit more scaffolding, but he got there. He reached the goal in November. He's made the goal. Now he's to the goal. How can he be challenged the rest of the semester and go even farther than our learning goal? And Sophia received the same instruction, and she needed a bit more scaffolding, but she also finally reached the goal in December. What can you as the teacher provide for Sophia in November? A little more support, a little more help, a little more encouragement so that she also reaches the goal eventually. Let me give you an example. Many of us are teaching English language, and a very difficult grammar goal is using present perfect in narrative writing. So if my goal is that my students can all produce their own writing in short stories using present perfect correctly, okay? So, all right, let's start everyone at the same place. Let's give the same instruction to Greta, to Montes, and Sophia in September. Greta, she's amazing. She caught on. She uses present perfect in narrative writing. In October, she's reached the goal. So, in November, with my strong students like Greta, I'm going to have them continue to write short stories using present perfect and other tenses as well. And in December, I'm going to ask my stronger students like Sophia to present original dialogues on the spot. And I'm going to listen for their present perfect because they should be able to produce it on the spot. It's quite harder, much, much harder what she's doing in December. Montes gets the same instruction in September. He needs a bit more help. He needs a little bit more help identifying present perfect, maybe a few more gap fill exercises, maybe selecting which word will fit better, maybe giving some more vocabulary, but he reaches the goal in November. So he's now using present perfect in November. I can challenge him by writing more short stories in December. Sophia is a struggling student. It takes a little bit longer for her to understand this verb tense. And so she receives the same instruction in September. In October, her and Montes are still kind of struggling with this whole idea of present perfect. What is present perfect and when do I use it? And she needs a little bit more help in November, maybe justifying when it's used, maybe identifying it in complex sentences, but she also reaches the goal, but not until December. But finally, all of them have reached the goal. And I, as a teacher, have provided slightly different activities in the different months, depending on how well they have reached the goal. So that's another theoretical look at differentiation. So I'm going to stop sharing so that Lydia can go back and we'll do a few more examples and then we'll ask you a question. Okay, let's click all the way through this slide, I think. Give us, yeah, there we go, perfect. All right. Now, you don't differentiate every day, usually. It's too hard, it's too difficult. You've got too many classes, it's way too much work. But can you take a baby step towards differentiation? And can you think about a concept you teach every year? I gave you the example of present perfect, but if you're an advanced teacher, you're teaching things like conditionals or modal verbs for medium range students. What is a concept that you teach every year? And you already are going to predict some students will get it easily. And every year, some students are going to struggle with it. What are some of those concepts? Just choose one concept. I chose present perfect. You can choose another one. So can you develop a bank, a notebook, a set of different activities that will provide support for that concept? Some of your activities will challenge students, your stronger students, to take that concept and use it in writing and use it in speaking and show how well they can use this concept beyond the gap fill exercises, beyond the workbook exercises. You might also, in your notebook, in your list of piles of activities, can you collect some activities that reinforce the concept so that the struggling students can actually get a different set of instructions or a little different, little more help with the concept. The strong students don't need that extra support, that extra, they need to be pushed to do much stronger. But can your struggling students get a little more help from you? Another video, maybe another activity, another small group session with you. Most teachers can think of a concept where I know that some students will get it quickly and some students will struggle with it. So just think of one of those concepts on your own, and that will help you understand a little bit of this. Let's go to another example. Another example I have on the next slide is a very low stakes type of differentiation. This does not take any planning at all. So no planning a separate lesson, no planning something different. Okay, maybe you have to plan the worksheet, but I'll tell you what this is. A worksheet might have grammar exercises on it. Now, typically, a textbook or a worksheet might start with easy exercises at the front, at the top of the worksheet, and harder exercises at the bottom. So this sheet is not a high stakes sheet. It will not determine their final grade. It does not determine their grade in the final exam. It's just a practice exercise we're going to do in class. So I'm going to give them points for it, but it doesn't make or break their whole entire week. And I see that the hardest exercises are at the bottom of the page. And I see that the easiest exercises are at the top of the page. Aha. I'm going to give different instructions to my students. I'm going to tell 4 students, I'm going to tell Greta and Grantes and Gerda to start at the bottom of the page and work up, because I'm pretty sure they can get those difficult problems, and I think they can do them. So I want them to start at the bottom. And they don't know why you're asking them to start at the bottom of the shop. They don't know. They just think you're randomly choosing there, but you're choosing which students do what. Now I'm going to ask my struggling student, my Sophies, my Steves, my Samanthas, my Sashas. I'm going to say, this group, I want you to start at the top and work your way down the page, just like you normally would. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knowing that they're going to work on some easier questions. Then you set a time limit. You say everyone gets 10 minutes to work on this page. It doesn't really matter if students don't finish the whole page, does it? You know that your struggling students have gotten exercises that fit their level. And you know that the stronger students have gotten exercises that fit their level. At the end of the 10 minutes, you can review most of the page if you'd like. But again, this is a low stakes exercise where you're actually channeling a few students to work on different exercises. And it differentiates between the really strong students working on challenging exercises and the struggling students working on something that's a little bit more their level. Eventually, in 3 or 4 weeks, they're all going to know that concept. They're all going to be able to use that concept somehow. But for this week, you already know that your strong students need a little more challenge and your weaker students need a little more support. So that's just an example of a low stakes assignment. Let me do one more example, then I'll let you ask some questions. The next slide shows an example of paragraph writing. So now we're now in a writing section of our curriculum in our week, and you can allow students to write on different topics. If you allow someone to write about a trip to Italy and someone else to write about gardening, that's okay. They have different topics. That's differentiating between what the students know. Sometimes you can ask students to write different organizational patterns. Writing a story, a narrative, what happened, first, second, third, fourth, is much easier than a cause-effect essay. But maybe you want to give different organizational patterns, a narrative organizational pattern to some students and a cause and effect to other students at the same time, during the same assignment for writing. You might use a slightly different rubric for marking grammar. You might allow some students more time than others. So you know that some students might need a bit more time for the writing exercise. You can allow them some more time while others may not. Peer reviews are very difficult for struggling students. It's very hard for them to give good feedback to their peers when they do a peer review, but the stronger students could do that, absolutely. So maybe the stronger students pair with a stronger student for a peer review, and you know that they can give good feedback to each other. They have the ability to do that. Maybe your struggling students, you give them the feedback on that essay, and so they get what they need as well. So here you're providing different activities. One has peer review, one has teacher review, and you're differentiating along the way. And just supporting struggling students along the way as they come. We know that just like plants are different, and you would give a different amount of water to a small succulent plant and a different amount of water to a cactus than you would to a philodendron. It's the same for our students. We can differentiate them slightly. Differentiation does not happen every day. It's way too much work to have 14 lesson plans for 14 different students. Many times a teacher will look at their class group and understand, okay, they kind of fall into a large group of really strong students, and I have 2 or 3 struggling students. I'm going to provide them with a little more support, but I can move these stronger students on. Another group, maybe another set of students, it's a little bit more equally divided between really strong students, 3 or 4 really strong students, and a set of struggling students, and so you want to provide them with more support. So each group is a little bit different, but I would never want a teacher to think, I have to differentiate on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday with all of my groups. No, we're not saying that. I think we're saying in general, this concept might be helpful when the students really do show different abilities or different gifts. And you are, as a teacher, you're still expected from your administrator, from your principal, from your headmaster to teach that group at the same time from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9:45, and they're all in the same room. What do I do? They're all so different. So these are just some concepts and ideas that you might want to think about and decide. But let's give the participants a time to ask some questions. Lydia, if you move to the next slide, you might see that you might have fears or concerns about differentiation, or you might think it's a fabulous idea. Let's now stop the screen sharing maybe and just read the chat box. What fears did you have or questions about differentiation? Or maybe you want to tell us a story of a time when it really works. So maybe give us a thumbs up if you're already using differentiation somehow, and maybe tell us how you're using differentiation. Or maybe you want to write a question in the chat box, and Lydia can look at some of the comments. So now's a good time to either tell us, yes, I agree, this works, especially in my writing exercises, or you might type in the chat box, I have a question about differentiation, and maybe I can address some of those questions about differentiation. I'm not an expert on everything, but at least we can have a conversation about this idea. So Lydia's going to watch the chat box and see if there are comments about this idea that we can discuss.
So for longer comments, I would also encourage you to use another app that we have tried several times, this Slido. So I have given you the link already. I'm going to share my screen once again to show you how to access it. So and you can go to slido.com, and you should be able to see a QR code. Okay, yes. So you can scan this QR code or enter the PIN 675866 in order to join the Q&A session, and there it will give you more opportunity to write kind of more extended questions. So you're welcome to do that, and I think we already have a couple of them here.
Okay.
So let me just read them to you, and you can also see them on the screen, Robin. So the first one is, can you explain jigsaw group?
Oh, I forgot to explain Jigsaw. Yes. This won't take very long, but I do need my slides again, Lydia. Glad that you asked this. Let's start where we left off. Right after the fears slide.
Second.
Okay, sorry, I said I'd explain this and then I didn't. It's the slide with the purple circles.
Okay.
So, yeah, there we go. Awesome.
I'm not sharing the right thing though, am I?
Okay, that's okay. We'll give you some time.
Okay.
A jigsaw activity is a reading activity. It's a reading activity for your students. And in a jigsaw activity, you take the text that you want your pupils to read. You take the text and you physically cut it into 4 equal sections: a beginning section, a second section, a third section, and a last section. And you physically divide your students, your pupils, into 4 different groups. So you have group A and group B and group C and group D. And the students in group A, they all read only the first section of your reading, only the first section of your text. And they discuss it and they look at vocabulary words and they thoroughly want to understand. Group B, yes, they read the second section of the text and they read it and they look at vocabulary and they help each other and they read their segment. And then group C reads a third section, D reads a fourth section. So those are called home groups. And so everyone in the group reads the same section. Those are called home groups. So in the next slide, you will see what we call the jigsaw groups. So now you rearrange the pupils. You regroup the students. So now you have a group of students that have read section A, B, C, and D. And you have the next group of students that's read A, B, C, and D. And so now look at the groups. Now the person in the group who read section A needs to explain to the rest of the students what happened in that section. And then they look at the next student who read section B, or the second section. They have to explain to everyone the second section. And so by the time you finish, everyone understands the whole text, but they had to explain their section of the text to each other. And in this way, they get support for reading their first section, and then they need to take that information to the next group, and they must explain to the next group. Ideally, then, you could ask a question, have them summarize, or give a quiz on the full text, and everybody should score really well because they have all heard explanations of that full text. That's Jigsaw.
I see another question from Yurata. She's asking, is it effective to apply peer review to weaker students? I noticed that they struggle to complete a rubric I give. It takes more time.
Oh, Yurata, yeah, this is a question I really like. It all depends, but peer review is a very high cognitive task. It's a difficult cognitive task. So struggling students usually put, it's great, it's fine. They have a hard time giving a good feedback. Whereas a stronger student might be able to give good feedback. It is a much more cognitively demanding task. On Bloom's taxonomy, evaluation is very, very high level thinking. So you have to decide, can my struggling students actually give a good peer review? And that's why I was suggesting you may want to consider a teacher review for the struggling students. Do we have time for one more, or are we finished with time?
Well, maybe let's do one more because I do see quite a few on the Slido app. And once again, if you feel like you have a burning question and we don't have time to answer it, please feel free to email us. We'd be happy to address that question. And if you're interested in getting a certificate for this session, please stay a couple of minutes longer and I'll give you instructions on how to do that.
Awesome.
So here's another one. Do you have a specific assessment tool to find out what abilities, interests, etc. students have? I do interest surveys, self-assessment. Maybe there's some other ideas that you can give us, Robin.
I think you're right on. Interest surveys, great idea. Learn to know your pupils. Asking them to self-assess what they think they're good at, great idea. You get to learn to know them. I think the other assessment tools are naturally in your classroom. During the first a couple of months that it takes you to get to know your students, you're constantly assessing how well they can do on the tasks that you're giving them. So I think the natural assessments simply come over time in a classroom. Usually most teachers can see the differentiation after about a month or two with their students, just simply by the exercises you use in the classroom.
And maybe there's one more that you can answer, because I feel like it's a very important one. So where do you get the material for differentiation, and do you create your own tasks?
That's a good question. For the theoretical ideas, Carol Tomlinson is where I get my task. And if you are asking for a certificate, then I think Lydia sends you a whole page of websites that I've used for differentiation. I don't create my own different tasks usually. I usually use the books and resources I have that have been created, but I decide when to use them. Okay, so I might decide to use this task with these students, and I might decide to pull this book or this task with these students. So I'm not recreating all my assignments when I differentiate. Very good question though, because we're busy people. Teachers are very, very busy people, and differentiation does take time. So I completely understand that.
That's right. And that was one of the comments actually in the Slido app, that differentiation is important, but it does take time. So you need to find a balance.
That's a good way to say it, Lydia. Balance is always an important thing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Robin, for the session today. Thank you, participants who joined. If you would like to get a certificate and some materials from Robin regarding everything that she's discussed with links, let us know. You can sign up for the certificate if you fill in the form, and you should have the link to the form now in the comment section on YouTube. So please take a moment to fill out the form. It will be active for a couple of minutes, but then we will close it, so that only people who watch the webinar live would have the access to certificates. So once you fill out the form, we'll have your information. We'll ask you to pay a symbolic €10 fee, and then we'll send you the certificate of participation and materials from the webinar. So once again, look at the comment section here on YouTube, fill out that form, and then we'll be in touch with you. If you have questions, if something has not been answered during this webinar, email us. We'll be happy to help. So we are planning, so this is the contact information on how to get in touch with us, study at LCC LT, or you can scan the QR code, and it will lead you to a Q&A form that we can also contact you through. And we're still having one more webinar. And why is it jumping? I'm sorry, technology is not super good today, but it's working. Just wanted to say, to give you a heads up for December 10th, that's the last webinar session for this semester, and I'll be leading it on choosing textbooks for your classroom. So I am proud alumna of LCC from our MA TESOL program. And I've had an experience as a curriculum developer, and I also worked as a methodologist in the publishing agency. So I know a thing or two about textbooks and materials, and I'd be happy to share that information with you. So if you haven't registered for that webinar, you can find that information on registering in our Facebook events or in the emails that you receive from us. Again, if you have questions, feel free to contact us. And it's been a privilege to spend this time with you. Once again, thank you, everyone, and I wish everyone to have a good evening.